Welcome. Happy Election Day. I don't know about all y'all, but even though I have all of these tools and I've been doing pretty good job at keeping myself fairly calm, I'm still agitated. My nervous system is still a little agitated and I'm wondering what's coming, etc. Right? So that's what today's practice is going to be about for us, is just trying to settle our nervous system down, getting into the big muscles that tend to when we get a little tense. And if you're like, what? I don't even, it awesome. It's still going to be beneficial to you. Have a blanket. We're going to do some of that slidey business that we sometimes do. Have a strap somewhere nearby that you're going to be able to grab from the earth, because we're going to grab it while we're down here. And then from there, we're going to start laying down on our back. Welcome to my couple of friends who joined while I was Chatty Cathy. Come on down. And once you get there, you have your regular two options with the legs, feet wide, knees lean in, or legs extended. They're both quite wonderful, just very different things, not very different, but they're quite different in the low back, the sacrum, the hamstrings, etc. So find the one where you feel the most grounded and comfortable in your body. And we're going to come back to that grounded thing quite a bit as we move throughout the class today. So, speaking of ground, how about you feel your connection points to the earth? So, noticing what part of the back of the skull is on the earth. And is the neck on the earth, or is it up away from it? And if so, how far up is it? Check into your shoulder blades and find out how your shoulder blades would imprint into hot wax, or maybe not hot, let's say warm wax, so you don't feel like you're burning yourself, right? And then check into your low floating rib cage area. And when you think about that impression, it's not just what part of the back body is the heaviest. Maybe, in my particular body, as I'm noticing, my hips would probably sink the deepest into that wax. However, my right hip would sink lower than my left, right? So maybe you notice that too, if one side feels heavier than the other or not. And it can be different in the shoulders than in the hips, etc., right? Is the low back against the ground, or is that up away from the earth? And again, what was the impression in that warm wax? Check into your pelvis and your hips. And now that we have the main torso, go into the appendages, right? Check in with the backs of the legs. What parts of the backs of the legs are on the floor? The heels, pardon me. And then check into your arms, your arm bones, elbows, etc. What parts of your body are touching the earth in that realm? And again, noticing if one side feels heavier. Maybe on the right side, you have your palm turned more up to the earth, and on the left side, the hand naturally wants to turn down, etc. Everything, right? Just noticing. We're not judging, we're just noticing. And then come to a universal overall sense of the back body against the floor. So instead of individualizing each piece, can we think of ourselves as a whole, and how that whole would be against the earth, or with the gravitational pull of the earth? Check into that breath. And if you do notice that it's up in the chest, that's not wrong. However, since we are trying to calm the central nervous system, it might be more beneficial to invite it down into the belly. There may be times when I ask you to have a shallower breath, right? Or a short breath, or a quicker breath, or these different things. But right now is one of the times when I would say, I think it's more beneficial to move the breath into a deeper mode, let the belly get involved. And maybe start to even count that breath out, counting in on 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pausing for a moment and counting out on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, taking a slight pause. And again, counting in on 5, pausing, counting out on 5, and let that 5 count be medium to long, right? So many of the things I introduce in class, yes, they're wonderful in a whole class and having an hour to do them, but these are the things you can pull out and you can access anytime in your day. And you don't have to be lying on your back. You can simply close your eyes, count your breath, in on 5, pause, out on 5, and pause before you go through the whole cycle again and do a few of those. Now keep your body still and soft. Go ahead and really gently open the eyes. And with the eyes fairly centered in the sockets, right, you're just going to have a nice soft gaze. And then without your eyeballs moving at all, I want you to just start to take in everything that you can. So we're working with the periphery, right? Actually, it's very calming to the nervous system, believe it or not. Your body's like, oh, this is my environment. I now know what's happening, right? So how much can you take in without your eyeballs moving to the right side of you? And we'll go in a circle down towards the leg side of the mat, the foot side of the mat. And over to the left, how much can you take in your periphery? And up over, right? And then we're going to circle the other way. The eyeballs don't move. From what you can take in above you, I want you to concentrate and even narrow it down like a clock face, right? The upper left quadrant, and then over to the left, the lower left quadrant, towards the feet, the lower right quadrant, straight over to the right. What can you take in? The upper right quadrant and above you. And keeping the eyes open, but with that beautiful, beautiful soft drishti, it's called, right, in yoga, and that periphery still involved. Grab your elbow points and have your arms above your chest. Your head's going to stay pretty still as you just let the arms go over to the right. We're not rolling or pulling the shoulder up, but the shoulder blade does come around the body. It's true. Come back through center and let the elbows start to move over to the left. I think of this as a typewriter carriage. That helps me visually, right? And back through center. And just like that typewriter carriage would go over to the right if you were typing, let your elbows move over to the right. Inhale, back to center. Let's add that breath in. And we're going to exhale those elbows over to the left. And again, your right shoulder blade's going to move around the side of the body, but we're not lifting the shoulder and the ribs, right? Now this time when the arms go to the right, let your head and your eyes follow. I like to put my eyes kind of in the middle of where my forearms cross and just keep them there with a nice soft focus, and let your head and your eyes move the same way. So now they're moving to the left. And inhale up. I'm not picking up my head. I'm just rolling it over, right? As I let my elbows go to the right, my head rolls to the right and back to center. Now, this is the way that we usually move. When we move in a particular direction, whether it's our arms or our body, our eyes go in the same direction we're moving. So we'll do that one more time, nice and soft. This is one of those exercises where the less you do, the more benefit you get, yeah? And you can make it big or small. Come back to center. Now this time we do differentiation. Your elbows will go to the right. You're going to turn your head to the left, soft focus. Coming back through center, they meet in the middle. And then your elbows go to the left and your head's going to turn gently to the right, soft focus. Coming back to center, we'll do that two more cycles, right? So elbows to the right, head to the left. I'll call this one out because this one's harder for the mind to get. Bring that back to center because it's different, right? And as the elbows go to the left, you're going to turn your head to the right. Back to center. We've got one more of those. As your elbows go to the right, your head turns to the left. And again, keep a nice soft focus. Inhale, back to center. As your elbows go to the left, your head's gonna, oh no, that was the last one, wasn't it? Go ahead and bring your arms down. Or maybe it wasn't. Finish it off if it wasn't. I apologize. My brain got a little mushy there. And then when you're finished, when you feel complete, bring your arms down, palms up. You can leave the eyes open. And I just want you to notice if the imprint that you've made into that warm wax with your upper body has shifted at all. And maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. We don't judge it, we just notice. Nothing is either good or bad. Thinking makes it so. And we got one more to do in that same realm. We're going to grab our elbow points, but we're going to put our other forearm on front. And if you looked at the screen, release the neck, soften back down, find your nice, soft drishti. We're going to go in a circle this time. So our forearms come down towards the chest, and then they circle over to the right. And we're going to keep pretty still with the eyes for this first bit, right? Up overhead, to the left, and all the way down to the chest. And we're going to do one more circle that way. Again, to the right and overhead, to the left, and down towards the chest. Now reverse your direction. Move the elbows over to the left. Again, we're not moving the head and the eyes for this version. Overhead, they're just different ways to work with the body to the right, and they're all beneficial in their own way, right? So we're going to hit all three of them. Don't you worry. One more time, elbows to the left, arms overhead, elbows to the right and down to the chest. Now we're going to go to the original direction. We're going to move over to the right again, but this time we're going to look at the forearms and we're going to let our eyes and our head gently follow. So our head is also going to do a little circle, circling the same way as our arms, and go one more time that direction to the right. And again, just nice, soft focus, nice slow motion. Less is more. Switching and going the other direction. Over to the left, you're going to follow with your eyeballs and your head. It's not a huge move, so don't get neck heavy with this. Keep it really soft. One more to the left. And then we've got that other direction. So we're going to go back the original direction to the right, but this time we're going to look down to the left. And then we're going to look to the left when our arms go to the right. Right? And so your head is now doing a circle the opposite direction of the arms. They meet again in the middle, but then as the elbows go to the right, the eyeballs are going to go to the left and the head, right? And then up overhead, they meet again overhead. And then as the elbows go to the left, the head's going to turn to the right and they meet down, opposite direction. As the elbows go to the left, you're going to go ahead and turn the eyes and the head to the right. They meet when they're overhead. When the elbows go to the right, the head turns to the left. And if this is like, whoa, it's okay. It's mental work right now, right? We're playing with your neurology, quite honestly. And then when you come back down and your eyeballs and your arms are by your chest, go ahead and bring the arms out, palms up, come back to the very middle of your skull, your comfortable place, right? And again, check in one more time. You can leave the eyes open with a soft focus, taking in your periphery. That helps the body know that it's safe and secure, right? Because now it's taking in its whole environment. We don't do that very much with all the screens and reading and things we do these days. Let's go ahead and bring the feet in, or the feet on the ground, knees bent. Bringing the right knee in, you're just going to go ahead and give a little hug to the right knee. And then your left arm can extend out to the left. Your left knee is going to move over to the left with the left foot on the ground, by the way. The right leg moves over to the right. And we're just going to say hi to the inner groin and just start a little relationship with the inner groin, which is one of the tightest places on the body, often when we're in stress, literally contracted. Come back to center, put the right foot down on the ground. Bring the left knee in and first just give it a little hug in. The low back can totally round, soft shoulders. Right arm can come out to the right. You're going to let the right knee just fall over to the right. Right foot stays on the ground for that, by the way. Left knee moves over to the left and just start to have a conversation with your inner groin here. Your left hand is helping support the left leg, so hopefully it feels safe. If that right leg doesn't, you could always put a block or a hand underneath it. Bring the knees back up, put the feet back down on the ground, and we're going to go ahead and have that strap handy for the belly work. Actually, sorry, there's one more thing on this side I want to do. Let your legs go out to straight. Arms can just come up and tee out. And then just a couple of times, we're going to drag that right heel back towards Baddha Konasana, right? Or the right leg wide, I could say, and push the heel out. Now, don't get really aggressive with this and start engaging a bunch of muscles to get as close to your pubic bone as you can. I would say probably only maybe about as high as the left knee as to where you're going with that right foot, yeah? So just pulling it back a little bit, letting the weight of the right leg pull that thigh down towards the ground. And one more time on the right side. And go ahead and release that out. This is just going to prep us for where we're going. Now let that left heel slide up. Again, probably no higher than that right knee. And then it's going to slide back out. And do that a couple of times for yourself. Doing more is not better. So meaning don't move too fast. Keep that slow rhythm, especially for any of my friends who feel like their nervous system is a little excited or agitated or whatever words you want to put on that, right? And then the next time you extend the leg out, you can leave it extended all the way out. Now we're going to roll onto our bellies. Thank you for your patience with that. I forgot about that one. So come onto your belly and you can come into crocodile. Crocodile is the one where you grab those forearms and they just got your elbow points and you bring your forehead down to your forearms. So similar to where we just were, right? But if this still feels like it's too much for any reason at all, you could bring the elbows wider, simply stack the hands and bring the head to the back of the hands. So although it's similar, we're in a different position of gravity, right? So suddenly there's more weight involved. And go ahead and take just 2 more breaths from here, letting everything be soft. And again, if I were going to put you in a little bit of warm wax, what would your impression be in that wax? Would one side be heavier than the other, etc.? Now, you're going to go ahead and you're going to bring that right knee out to the right, like we just did, but we're in a different relationship to gravity. We're prone now, yeah? So you might feel that right hip lift a little bit. The knee would be no higher than being in line with your hip, but it might not even come that high on your body, depending on how your body feels. If you had to look up to see that, I would love for you to release your neck and your head back down and try to get out of that musculature. Now, if I could, I would put about a 5 to 10 pound weight, whatever you feel the most comfortable with. I don't want to hurt you, right? But I would put a weight right at your hip and thigh bone where they meet on the top of that right hip. So just imagine that melting down into the wax. And then we're going to take that strap and we're going to put that strap around the right foot. So you might need to kind of crunch your side body to get down there to get that strap around your foot. And if not the strap, you can just simply start to lengthen your right leg out to the side. So this is Padangunshtasana is the name of the pose where we're standing on our left foot with our leg out to the side. We've probably done this before. I know you've probably done it with me. I go through phases where we do this pose quite a lot, right? So my spine is back to straight. I'm pushing my right heel out to the side, whether I have that strapped or not. And if you don't have a strap, you could simply reach your right hand that way, just so you get the lines going on. And just start to feel that length from your inner groin through your inner heel of the right leg, that is. Left leg can just be soft here. You don't have to activate that. And you can put your left hand or fist down and make that pillow happen from there now. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll onto our side. So you'll kind of dive that left arm over to the right and you're going to roll onto your left side and the right leg kind of pulls back, but it's still straight. Now go ahead and grab either the sides of your calf if you're not working with the strap, or grab the strap itself. One strap in each hand if you can is fine, right? And then I'd love for you to try to bring your head in towards the chest, like you could lay your head down on your left bicep. You could always bring the arm up a little bit if that's not happening and your head needs support, right? So modify however you need. You don't have to look exactly like me or anyone else on the screen, but if anyone's not feeling their right hamstring and or the IT band, then talk to me. Unmute yourself and talk to me. Feel that earth underneath you. It's under your whole left side body supporting you. Your head can come down on that arm. Move the arm if you need to so your head feels supported and you can release the weight of the head. Push that right heel out any amount. And now we're going into phase 3 of this. You're going to take the straps in your left hand. You're going to reach your right arm up to the sky and then reach it back behind you. So full wingspan, I sometimes call this when we do this type of a twist, right? So the right arm, if it doesn't make it to the earth, you could put a blanket or a prop underneath it. But otherwise, if you're able to let that arm just kind of get heavy and let gravity really gently start to take it down to the ground, maybe even thinking about your right rib cage having weight and rolling back and down to the ground. even as you push that right heel forward, or what was your forward only moments ago. Head might turn the same way as the right hand. Does that help the right shoulder soften? If it doesn't, or something tenses up, just look up to the ceiling or even towards your left toes. Take another breath wherever the heck you are. And then we're going to inhale that right arm up. We're going to bring it back for one more moment. Tuck your head in, push the right heel away, and just pause here, letting the head rest on the bicep. And then go ahead and remove the strap, but don't get rid of the strap. Bend the knee, move the leg back, roll onto your belly, and come into crocodile with your other forearm on top, or elbows wide and your hands stacked, whatever one works for you, yeah? And I'm wondering if your impression into your warm wax feels any different than when we were just here moments ago. If that imagery doesn't work for you, does your right body feel any differently than your left body? So the first phase, and I'm going to turn myself so that I'm a little bit more towards camera in case you need to see it. The first phase of this is for you to just simply bend your left knee, pull the knee up so that it's coming towards about the height of the hip, but it does not ever have to be that high, just no higher than that, most definitely. And just pause there before you even think about straightening that leg out, right? And let your, if that imagery helps, imagine me putting a whatever pound weight sounds good to you on your left hip and thigh where the two connect. And just that extra idea, right, of having that extra weight helps that inner left groin hip area start to open potentially. Now we're going to go into that extended version. You don't have to, of course. So you might bring the knee up a little higher and crunch the body down. You got to get that strap on there. I know it's not the easiest of gettings, right, with a prop, but try to strap that foot. If you need to roll onto your side, you could hug the knee in and do it that way, and then roll back down, and then start to push that left heel out towards straight. Bring the spine back to straight. So I was really leaning over. So I've got to really pull my body over, not to the right, but just right back to center. Yeah. So you want a long spine, fairly neutral pelvis. We're not going to be too particular about that today. Letting that left heel reach forward. If you didn't have the strap, you would just straighten your left leg as much as you can. Reach the left arm, tee the left arm out to the side as if you had the strap in your hand, and just pause there and soften into this. So now the beauty of doing the pose in this way is we've got the ground underneath us. Most of our weight is being held by the earth. So feel that. You're safe. You're secure. You got this. Yeah? And then we get to play with the lengthening of that inner left groin through the inner left heel. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my head up a little bit so my voice doesn't get completely lost, but it's not easy to do for me in this pose. And breathing from there. Now, the next phase of this pose, if it feels all right, is you're going to go ahead and you're going to roll onto your right side body, kind of pull that left leg back a little bit, and that right arm is going to come forward. So maybe the leg comes up a little bit, maybe the leg bends, whatever you need to do with that left leg to try to get the straps, or just grab your shin, right? Or your arm might come up, but we're going to let the chin tuck into the chest a little bit. And so this is half Paschimottanasana technically, right? It's a forward fold. And if you're like, what is that one? You remember when we're sitting on the ground and our legs are out in front of us and we fold over the legs? So this is a one-legged version of that in a supine pose. The reason I love this one is A, it gets the left hamstring, and B, with that foot slightly lower than the hip, we're probably also getting into the left IT band area. The head is softening down. If it can't do that, move the right arm up a little bit so that you can soften your head down to your bicep. Taking a breath before we go to the next phase. Feel the earth underneath you. And then both straps will go in the right hand, or you'll just tee the right arm out. Inhale the left arm up and back behind you. And if it doesn't make it to the earth, remember, you can always put a block or a support system underneath the arm. If there's pain, get out right? Or modify it. Or prop it is what I mean by modify it. Or maybe you let that gravity just really gently start to bring that left arm down to the earth. Even as you push the left heel back to what was your forward just moments ago, Does turning the head towards that back hand, that left arm, help the left shoulder soften? If it feels like it's cramping or feels like there's any kind of compression or impingement, turn the head up or maybe even towards the right toes or the left toes. And then breathing, most definitely, please, wherever you are. And again, don't go to a point of pain. I try to give modifications, but if you ever feel like, gosh, you need another one, please tell me. Inhale the left arm up, bringing it all the way around. For 2 more breaths, let's tuck our chin in a little bit or raise the right bicep up a little bit so we can rest the head and just pause there and breathe into that left leg. And then bend the knee, remove the strap. You can now put the strap off to the side. You're going to bring that left leg back. And for about 2 more breaths, let's lay in crocodile and just notice if our body has changed at all. You can always lift the thighs or whatever you need to do to neutralize, right? And I wonder if your hippies feel any different. The hips, and I'm going to include the upper legs in that, right? Those big upper leg muscles, we worked into some of them. Now bring your hands next to your low floating ribs-ish, palms down. You're going to keep your knees down, but push the floor away to push back into child's pose. Knees can go a little wide, toes come to touch. So a pretty classical or traditional balasana here. You can let the forearms come down for the first 3 breaths or so. You could make forehead pillows, whatever you need, right? Inhale into the back body or any place you feel restriction. Do that 2 more times, wherever you feel restricted, and maybe that's in your emotions, in your mind. With your exhale, release and soften. Again, that earth, feel her. She's underneath you. She's got you. Inhale. And exhale. Now, straighten your arms out, planting the palms down, and go as wide as your mat for this first little bit. And with the hands as wide as the mat, even turning the fingers out slightly so your index fingers point forward, push down so the forearms lift up. And notice if your shoulders are really slugging here and doing the work pulling up to your ears. Can your shoulders soften away from your ears a little bit, right? Even as you keep the arms strong. Right? So those upper traps, they don't have to do everything. They sometimes think they do. They're used to doing it a lot for a lot of us. And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to come up to hands and knees. Let's take the blanket setup off. We are going to do a couple of things on hands and knees. So if that makes you want to make a folded pillow for your knees, please do. Otherwise, just swoosh it off to the side and meet me on hands and knees. So feel the earth underneath you. And also along with that comes pushing everything that can touch the earth. So the tops of the feet, maybe the ankles, maybe the shins, the knees can push down. My palms can push down, but so can my finger pads quite strongly, actually. It's healthier for the wrist when my finger pads do that. And then from there, let's do a couple of cat cows. Inhale, reach the chest forward. And exhale, pull the belly up. So you guys know this. I'm not going to add anything too new. I am going to add that quality of the more you push down, even as you reach the chest forward, right? That energy starts to come up into you and you can find a little more in the shoulder blades or maybe the pelvis. And same thing, when you pull up and you're pushing down, that energy comes up from the earth and it rounds your back a little more. So play with that. In yoga, we call that the root to rise principle. And it's, I don't know, in my training, holy crap, it was drilled into the training. Which leads me to believe they think it's pretty important, as do I. Now come back to your neutral. Reach your right leg behind you, but keep your toes pointed, toes on the earth. So I have my toenails on the earth. Now we're going to reach the right leg over to the left, and we're going to turn to the left and look over our left shoulder, right? And pause there. As you're looking back at your toes, what can you take in with your periphery? So try to not move your eyeballs. That's not what I'm saying. Your eyeballs stay still. But what can you take in around you? Now, try to keep that soft focus and that periphery turned on, so to speak, and come back to neutral, right? With the toes pointing behind you. And we're going to move on the breath. Exhale over to the left, right toes move over, head turns. And inhale with your periphery. What can you take in as your body moves? And exhale. You're also playing with your vestibular system, right? We've been doing that a lot lately. And coming back to center. Bring that foot down. Right off the bat, find neutral, and then slide your left toenails back. You're on the toenails, your toe is pointed. Again, breaking the first one down a little bit. You're gonna reach the left leg to the right, turn, look over your right shoulder, pause, find a steady point to look at, right, without straining the eyeballs. Keep your eyes still, but what can you take in with your periphery while you're here? Now, trying to keep your periphery turned on, I'm putting that in air quotes, by the way. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna bring the left leg back to neutral and the head back to neutral. And now we swing with the breath. Slide the toes over and look back. Keep your periphery turned on. Notice what you see in your periphery. So more about the periphery today than the movement, right? And moving over, periphery turned on, turn and look back. And come back to center. Go ahead and bring that knee down. We're going to move right into downward dog. So walk your hands a little in front of your shoulders. Find that same position with the hands, curl the toes under and start to make your way back. Now take a few moments here if you want to bend one knee and straighten the other, right? And just kind of start to work into the calves, the ankles, whatever it is that you feel is starting to open up for you. And as you start to come to your neutral, you might bend the knees for a moment, find your length in your spine, and then root the heels back down as much as you can, right? I'm not saying they have to touch the earth. Whether or not they touch the earth, they are actively reaching towards the earth. And then you want to have your head, right, yours between the biceps-ish. Don't be forceful with that. That's where the head should hang if you have a long spine and a released neck. And then you're just kind of gazing off the end of the nose and your periphery is turned on. Go ahead and walk your hands back to your feet. You'll end up at the back of the mat. Bend the knees, grab the elbow points and hang in. If this is not a right position for you, a good one for your low back or whatever, remember, you can always just put their hands on the shins and lengthen your spine a little bit more. Take 2 breaths from here. Now, I want you to notice how much weight you have in your heels, you're able to have in your heels in this position, right? So from there, if any of my friends have a blanket, you can always move that blanket off to the side, by the way. But otherwise, as we start to walk out to downward dog, keep your heels rooting down. I'm not saying they have to stay on the earth, but slowly walk out to downward dog and push the heels down and push the heels down. And even when they lift off the ground, push the heels down and push the heels down. You get where I'm going with that, I think, right? And with those heels really pushing down, finding that length in the back of the legs. Now, can you keep that, but also look a little forward, right? Find that upper back moving in. Don't let the ribs flare for a few of my friends out there, right? And then maybe we've got the best of both worlds in both the lower body and the upper body. Take a breath, inhale. And on the exhale, we're going to look forward, bend the knees, and you can just step forward. If you want to jump, go ahead. We haven't done very much that active yet, so I'm walking personally. Hands on the shins and reach the chest forward. Exhale and fold. Hands on hips, elbows up, reach the chest forward and come on up. Stand in the middle of your mat. I'm going to take a quick drink. Pardon me. Yeah, my friends who've been with me for a while, you know, but in the winter, I tend to get phlegmy. I apologize. I produce a lot of extra mucus. Go ahead and walk your feet out nice and wide, which isn't awesome in class, but now that you're so close to my mouth, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Have your feet turned forward, right? Or I could say your pinky edge parallel to the short edge of your mat. And put your hands on your hips for just a few minutes here. And tune into your feet and notice what part you have pushing more into the foot. Depends on the person. Some of us collapse our arches and go inside. I tend to be the school that totally lets my outer ankle and my outer edge just move down into pronation and my arches go pew, right? So what side do you go to? And then make sure your other side is working just as much, right? So you feel all 4 corners of your feet. If you prefer the tripod, right? Let me break it down real quick. Ball mount a big toe, ball mount a pinky toe, inner and outer heel are the 4. Some people work with a tripod, which would be your outer ball mounts, right? And the very center of your calcaneus bone. Whatever image works for you, sweet, right? And then from there, inhale, reach the arms out just to the height of the shoulders, right? We're gonna go ahead, turn the palms up, see if that helps the shoulder blades soften down and you got that spacious neck. Now we're going to try to tax the arms and the chest to stay here. As we turn our right toes in or kick the heel back or a little bit of both, and then keep everything here, go ahead and turn your left foot out, right? Straighten the left leg initially. We're going to move towards warrior two. Turn your palms down, but keep the spaciousness in the neck and the shoulders. Keep the gaze forward and bend your left knee. Right knee. Yeah, no, left knee. Am I saying it right? Jiminy Christmas. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. Inhale and straighten. But you guys are all bending a knee, so bend that same knee. Woo! And inhale, straighten. I apologize if I was saying it all wrong. Go ahead and bend that knee, and whatever your front knee is, right, without looking at it, can you imagine that that length comes through the inner groin and it's going right over that second toe? And then notice if you lost the back outer heel, is that still rooting down, right? I always put my weight in my toes of my front foot. So I have to ask my heel to participate a little bit more. And then if you really root down through all four corners of the feet, can you feel the energy start to come up through the inner groin, through the pelvic floor, all the way up through the crown of the head? Now, if you really do have those shoulders down away from the ears, it may be accessible to start to turn the head to look over the front fingers. I'm not sure if you're right or left at this point in time, so I'm just going to say front fingers. I apologize. And breathing. Warrior two. Still rooting down, feeling that energy pulling up. It is more effort. Yeah, you betcha, but it's more stable. And straighten the legs. Turn the toes forward. If you need an arm break, take it, but I'm going to try to tax you through the second side if I can. Turn the toes forward, bring them down if you're like, oh, heck no. And now turn your back toes, whatever one they're going to be, sorry, and turn that whole front leg out, again, without looking or turning the chest or the arms or the head. Now we're going to start to bend that new front knee, the other side, and straighten the legs. I have some people on different sides, I think, so I just want to make sure. And then go ahead and bend that new front knee. And straighten. We're going to hold this next one. And as you bend in, I'm going to take a second and bring it up to the upper body because that's getting taxed a lot right now. So can you imagine that your humerus bone is what's lifting the arm, right, from under the armpit up into the humerus bone and soften the upper traps down. Now bring your awareness to your feet. Where is the weight in the feet? I'm almost always collapsing my back arch, and I'm almost always in the toes of my front foot. So I have to really get those four corners down and feel the energy start to flow up through the body. Maybe if those shoulders are soft, you can turn the head and look over your new front fingers, the other side. Yeah? And then feeling the energy here. Again, I will almost always stop taking the energy out of my feet and go other places. So I come back to it over and over and over, and I root down to lift up and rise up out of that. Open chest, soft jaw, soft shoulders. Inhale, straighten the leg, hands to the hips. Woo, you thought I'd never ask, did you? Go ahead and turn your toes forward, and let's come in. Toes, heels, step or jump. And pause for a moment. Tadasana, mountain pose. Again, where's your weight in your feet? The majority of human bodies that I work with, myself is included in this one, by the way, and I talk about it quite a bit. We tend to pitch forward, and I'm going to over exaggerate, but we go into the baby copper bone, the copper tone baby belly, right, is what I call it. So can you put the weight a little bit more in your heels if that's your line? If it's not, you'd go the other way, right? Pay attention to your body. Thighs turned on, and if I really root down through all four corners, can that energy start to move up through me? Now we're going to go ahead, grab your strap, have your strap over a shoulder or wherever you want to use it. And if you're not using a strap, I'm going to talk about the two piece fingers grabbing the big toe, okay? Sorry, mine is in a loop from something else yesterday. So just have it standing by. We're not there quite yet, but we're going to be there in just a moment. So come back to Tadasana. Feel the feet rooting down. You might even lift your toes, not your ball mounds, but your toes up and spread them as wide as you possibly can and try to set them back down on the earth. And as you really make contact through your right leg, notice that one. I want you to start to bend your left knee, but keep your right glute in, keep the weight in the right heel. All that stuff we just did, it's all going to want to shift all over tarnation, right? And then from there, we're not going into it quite yet, but I just want you to see if maybe you can lift your left toes off the earth while maintaining that right sideline and the weight in the right heel. And bring that back down. Neutralize, maybe pull the toes up, spread them wide and set them back down. Feel your left foot strongly. Bend the right knee, but hug your left glute in, right? Weight in the left heel. I lose it every time. And maybe you pick your right toes up and don't go high. It's not about that right now. Find the low belly, find the neutrality of the hips and the spine, and then set that back down because it's going to get harder, right? Find neutral. Pick up your toes, spread them wide. Keep the arches lifted even as you set the toes back down. This time we're going in. Grab your strap, but have a long loop in it so you don't have to look down. Periphery is turned on, right? You'll get it with your periphery. You don't have to look down. It screws with your balance. So just play with it. I'm not taking it away from you if you want it. And as we get that right foot down, right weight, a heel, weight's in the right heel, left butt hugging in. Lift the left leg. Your periphery can see it. So keep your eyes fixed, soft focus with your periphery, hook your foot. And then from there, you're going to start to really gently, slowly push the left heel forward. Weight in right heel, right glute hugging in. And then from there, put both straps into your left hand. Use a wall if you'd like to. Right hand on the thigh, hip. And then from there, go ahead and maybe that left leg starts to move over to the left. Weight in the right heel, right buttocks moving in. Push the foot down so much you feel the energy shoot up through the crown of the head. Maybe that arm reaches out, just like we're mimicking what we did on the ground. Do you remember when we were laying on our bellies and all that business? Huh, that's interesting. Bring that all the way back. Hand can come back to the hip. I have one challenge for you here, friends. If you want it, leave the leg lifted, just drop the strap, reach the arms up, find the low belly. If the heel drops, it is okay. If the strap is on the leg, it doesn't matter. Whew, bring it down, 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 down. You need to wiggle a little bit, but then grab your strap and you can leave it in your hands, make a big loop. Look down, make sure your knees are aligned and your feet are wherever they need to be to make sure the knees are going straight forward. And then from there, again, before you get too crazy, like move into it, let's do it, right? Get that left heel grounded if you're not in your heel. Hug the left glute in and bend the right knee and go ahead and start to lift it. Again, with your periphery, I can see what's happening down there. I can hook. My knee's in the way a little bit, but I can see just as much as if my eyeballs turned that way. Start to push the heel out in front of you. This one is a neutral hip, right? Now both straps into your right hand, left hip. Put the weight in the left heel. As you start to move that right leg over to the right any amount, feel free to use what's it called, a wall, right? Try not to let the hips turn out. Maybe that left arm tees out and it's mimicking what we did on the earth, right? Weight in the left heel, left buttocks hugging in. And if that left heel is really pushing down that whole foot, do you feel that energy streaming up through you? Come back through center. Here's your challenge. Release the strap and try to keep the leg lifted as high as you can. Pull the low belly in, use that low belly. Maybe the arms reach overhead, soft shoulders. Whew, bring it down. And breathe. You can put the strap off to the side. You have done it. You've done the hardest work. Now I want to get into the psoas a little bit because that does start to activate anytime we start to do this kind of business. So we're going to do it through a lunge. You can have a blanket for your knees or not. And we're not going to be too fancy with it. We're just going to bring our hands down. I'm at the top of my mat. And we're going to bend our knees and we're going to shoot our left leg back. Bring the left knee down, uncurl the toes. You can be on blocks or on the ground. We're going to come up higher in a second, but find your spine. And then put your hands on your thigh today, stacking or interlacing. And come back on the thigh. The right thigh. And as you push into the right thigh, pull the frontal hip points up and pull the frontal hip points up and pull the frontal hip points up. Yeah. And then go ahead and reach the left arm up. Think of lengthening out of the left side waist. And yeah, you do lean to the right a little bit, but it's more about lengthening out of that spaciousness. So we start to get that whole psoas line saying, ha, 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 is what mine is saying this morning. And come back to center. Maybe both arms reach up for just a moment. Bringing the hands down. Let's take a downward dog in between sides. If you don't want a downward dog, you could be on hands and knees and do a cat-cow or two. Now we want that left leg forward. So you can bring the knees down and step it forward, or you can lift it and swing it forward, whatever you want to do. On fingertips or blocks, longest spine you ever did find. Interlace or stack hands. And again, come back on the thigh quite a bit today. And as you're on that back left thigh, as you push down, can that help you pull your frontal hip points up? And hopefully that right psoas starts to say, ooh, wee, yeah? Pushing the left foot down, all four corners, pushing the right shin down, top of the foot and ankle. Maybe that right arm reaches up, soft right inner shoulder, but reach out of the right side waist, leaning a little to the left. But again, it's more about the reaching out of the waist than it is the lean, yeah? And coming back to center, maybe both arms reach up, soft inner shoulders. And bring the hands down. It'll be the last downward dog if and you want it. If and you don't, we'll meet you in child's pose in a hot second. And I'm wondering if the body feels differently in this downward dog than it did in any of the ones we've done previously. I'm wondering if you can find the heels pushing towards the earth, right? Just as much as the ball mounds of the toes, and if that helps the legs open. If you can find the finger pads pushing just as much as the heel of the hand, and if that helps anything elongate in your body. Take an inhale. And with an exhale, you're going to bring your knees down wide, big toes touch, child's pose. Let the forearms rest for this one. Arms can be in front of you or by your side, whatever feels grand. Try to get the forehead to the ground, the middle of the eyebrow-ish center, right? And if you can't, you might make a pillow fist and bring that part of the forehead down to the fists. So another tool that you have in your back pocket, anytime you feel stressed out, you can literally ground the forehead, but particularly the area just a little bit above the brows, right? Between the brows and just slightly above them. And this starts to stimulate our vagus nerve. So we got the breath that gives us vagal tone. We've got this, which starts to give us vagal tone. I mean, everything we're doing today, but those are two really quick, easy ones you can do pretty much anywhere. You don't have to be in child's pose. You can be sitting by a counter and bring your forehead down to a counter, or bring your thumbs up to your forehead. Inhale, lift the body, come on up. And what I mean by that is literally you can take your thumbs and you can just bring them up to the forehead, and you can apply pressure and let the head hang into it. I love doing this at a counter or at like a desk situation with my arms on my desk. It's one of my faves. Okay, let's do one forward fold and then we're down to the ground. But I'm gonna say that if you have props standing by, we're gonna play with that same thing I was just talking about. So you can have the props near you. And the legs are gonna be not all the way out wide, but not all the way in. So kind of like Paschimottanasana, but we want enough space for these blocks to be in between, yeah? And then from there, you're gonna go ahead and get as tall as you can. Now the thing with blocks and props is people wanna get to them, and so we lose so much of our length of our spine getting there, right? So keep the spine really long. And when you fold in, I'm gonna show it from the side for this one, right? It's not me trying to get to my blocks, it's me lengthening and lengthening and lengthening and lengthening. And then at some point in time, my hamstrings are like, whoa, that's it, sister. So then I just stack my blocks however high I need to. And if they don't make it up and you're much, much higher, you could use, another one of my favorites is I'll be right next to a coffee table or a chair, and I'll put my legs under it and I'll make a forehead pillow, a forearm pillow. So where is that for you, where you can find the support, right? And you can, I start pretty high, and then after I've been there for a few breaths, I lengthen my chest forward, drop the props down, and I'll come to stage 2. I almost never go into quote what I think is my, what I think is my quote end position or final pose, because it's different every day. Arms are soft for this one. We're not pulling on anything. The legs, although they're turned on, let's only turn them on to maybe about 55, 60%. And again, trying to let that forehead ground. So in this one, we've got two wonderful things. We've got the forward fold, which is very grounding and cooling. Plus we have our forehead grounded. Inhale, reaching the chest forward and up. We're going to come on down to our backs. Have whatever you need to keep yourself warm. And if you are feeling a little ungrounded, I mean, at the end of practice, hopefully maybe a little more grounded, but if it's just in general that way for you today, you might take weight and you might put it on your thighs, right? When we get there, just saying, so you might want to have that stuff standing by. So come on down to your backs. And let's go ahead and hug the knees in. You can put your hands on your knees, and if you hug the knees in, usually you go into a more rounded spine. That might feel awesome. It might feel a little nicer today to move your hands down to your upper to mid shins. And if you pull down, then that might widen the sacrum a little bit more than round it. So you can play with what that is in your body. Depends on the day for me. Keeping the knees high, we're going to tee the arms out and let the knees move over to the right. Knees can totally come away if they need to get that right pinky toe down. Right hand might come on the left thigh. You might turn your head to the left, but maybe it's forward or to the right today. And last chance, if you want to leave the eyes open with a soft focus, to play with that periphery, at least in class anyway, right? I encourage you to do it all the time. But again, I just have a soft focus and I'm just taking in everything that I can in my environment on all sides. Because we are such a screen society and we don't use our periphery, our central nervous systems get pretty wigged out because they're used to that being a tool they have at their disposal, right? But neurons that fire together wire together. And if we're not using it, they're no longer wiring together and firing, right? Come back through center. Lots of studies about this right now. Let the knees move over to the left. Maybe. Knees move away, left pinky toe down, maybe left hand outer right thigh, maybe head turns right, but maybe it turns to the left or straight up to the sky. But wherever your head turns, again, just one more time, if you're feeling it, go ahead and just have a nice soft focus, eyeballs just pretty centered and soft. And then without moving your eyeballs at all, take in everything you can above, to the left, to the right, down below. You can do this all over the place, periphery work. Go ahead and let those knees come back up. If you need to pick the hips up and bring them back to the center. And this is where, if you want that weight on the thighs, right, you can extend the legs out for more of a traditional Shavasana, but then we put whatever we have. Like, I love bolsters, but if I don't have bolsters, I'll take a blanket and even put my blocks on it if my blocks have a little bit of weight to them, or books, or you name it. You can use anything. I have sandbags at home. I bought those things and I finally invested. They're so awesome. From anyone not from Wisconsin, that's a sandbag. We call them sandbags. Now you get to close those eyes. But don't slam your eyelids shut. Super soft. And again, where is it that the eyeballs feel like they can soften and the muscles don't have to turn on? So just let that be where the eyeballs themselves are living. When we have agitated thinking, many of us often have agitated or furrowed brows. So checking in and smoothing out that brow. Check into the throat and the back of the mouth and soften. And if you're not sure how to do that, or it's difficult for you, yawn. And even if you don't really yawn, even if it's just a fake yawn, that whole space opens up. It's quite brilliant. Right? So even if I don't get an actual yawn out, but you might notice how wide that gets back there and then try to keep that super soft and wide. If, like me, you're a jaw clencher, fake yawn throughout your day. And the earth is underneath you, supporting you. And we look to the earth for that stability and that support, that foundation. But then hopefully we start to do the work we need to do, knowing that this is inside of us all the time, right? It's always available. So that no matter what happens, no matter what's changing, what's in flux, we still have this beautiful foundation inside of us. Our legs, our knees, our perineum, our tailbone. We are safe and sound, secure and stable. They got us. And if you are able to stay here and you're feeling nice and grounded and soft, please do. But if you're on a time limit, go ahead and maybe reach the arms overhead. And you can point and flex the feet. Oh, no, I got myself started on yawning. I invite yawns. I honestly do. As a jaw clencher, anytime I yawn, I just use the freedom that I just created. It's awesome. You might roll to the right or the left. You might even pause there. Let the head turn down, whether you're looking that way or not, right? Meaning your eyes can still be closed, but the head turns down as you push the floor away. Come on up to a seated position for just a few moments. Any of my worker bees, it is 10. I'm sorry, I'm going to run us over about 1 to 2 minutes. So as many times as you can. Again, this is not necessarily everybody, but anyone who's got anything going on about the election, right? Excitability, agitation, etc. Feel the earth underneath you as much as you can. Feel your connection of the feet or your buttocks bones, especially because that is our foundation. That's our root system from the tailbone and the perineum down. Right. So anytime you can feel the earth and those points come together, it's a really useful tool for stability. You've got your breath work. You can just close your eyes or not. You don't even have to close them. And you can breathe 5 count in, 5 count out with pauses before and after your inhale. Remembering to soften your shoulders away from your ears as many times as you need to. Body scan in general. So come back to them as many times as you need to today. Inhale, hands together at the chest. Exhale, bow the head in. And taking a moment of gratitude that we had this space and time and that you gave yourself this space and time this morning. Namaste. And I think it goes without saying, but if you have not voted, vote, people, vote. And also, they're probably not going to have the election results tonight, so don't listen to that bull crap all day. It's just going to take you out, and it's going to take you into irritability and agitation and excitability. So I'm not saying don't be an informed citizen. I'm saying don't listen to the bull crap today. Wait, it'll come.